Rich man sees Maid's daughter dancing with his paralyzed girl. The shocking reaction that haunts. The sun dipped low in the sky, spilling fiery hues across the estate's sprawling gardens. It was a scene stitched together by elegance and wealth, but hidden behind those pristine hedges lay a world of whispers and secrets. Today, the air buzzed with an electric vibe, a strange tension in the wind like the calm before a storm. A hush fell over the gathering, eyes glued to a spectacle that would echo through the halls of this opulence, a moment that would shatter the boundaries of class and spark a wildfire of scandal. In the center of it all stood Clara, the maid's daughter, twirling like a leaf caught in a gust. Her dark hair whipped around her face, and each spin sent ripples of laughter through the crowd. She looked free, unburdened by the day's expectations. But next to her, on an ornate garden chair, sat Sarah, the rich man's daughter, paralyzed from the waist down. The contrast was striking. One child bathed in the vibrancy of youth, the other tethered by silent despair. The audience couldn't help but lean in, hearts racing, breaths itching with anticipation. As Clara danced, something magical unfolded. A glimmer of hope flickered in Sarah's eyes, unthinkable joy at the sight of her friend, someone who seemed untouchable yet so incredibly close. Yet, this moment of levity hung like glass, fragile and precarious. Then, suddenly, the air shifted. Gasps mingled with murmurs. What would a father's heart do, especially one with a reputation leading the elite? The tension snapped taut like a bowstring ready to let fly its arrow, and then it happened. The rich man, his voice a thunderclap, ruptured the anticipation. "What is this?" he thundered, his face contorting. Every eye turned towards him, an ocean of surprise and trepidation swirling in their gazes. The laughter died, replaced by the palpable thud of fear and sorrow, as he sprinted forward, the fabric of their lives threatening to unravel before them. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." But in that charged silence, Clara's dance didn't falter. Somehow, she knew the stakes. She moved even more rhythmically, a plea for understanding flowing from her every sway. And just as the rich man's face paled to ash, Sarah's hand twitched as if it wanted to join the dance, to break free from its chains. The collective gasp from the crowd frayed the air. Was it the sight of the impossible? The solidarity between the two girls? Or was it the realization that in this vibrant moment, the rigid walls of society began to crack? As the rich man drew closer, a wild glimmer ignited in Sarah's eyes. What choice would he make? The answer hung heavy in the air, taunting curiosity with every beat of the music. The rich man's footsteps pounded against the cobblestone path, each one echoing with anger and disbelief. His eyes bore down on Clara, who effortlessly weaved joy through the air even as a storm brewed within the heart of the estate. The crowd parted, whispers flaring like dry brush, igniting a tension that felt unbearable. "What is happening here?" he spat, an edge slicing through his velvet voice. His gaze shifted sharply from Clara to Sarah, a lightning bolt of rage. "Is this a joke? Amusement at my daughter's expense?" Heat pooled in Clara's stomach. A familiar wash of shame threatened to drown her, but she fought against it, rising momentarily above the sinking fear. She continued dancing, her movements pleading, desperate to communicate the bond that connected her to Sarah. She didn't dare look at the others. It was as if their judgment, their scorn, would shatter her resolve. In stark contrast, Sarah's eyes shone with something like defiance. "Daddy, stop!" she cried, her voice tremulous but firm. I can feel her. She makes me feel alive." Murmurs rippled through the crowd like a wave crashing against stone. "Alive?" Someone whispered, disbelief plaguing their tone. The tension thickened, swirling around them like dark clouds ready to burst. The rich man's jaw clenched, his expression a twisted storm of protectiveness and disbelief. How can you feel anything? His voice trembled with a mix of incredulity and a father's fury. Look at you. You are broken. You shouldn't be subjected to this nonsense. Clara stuttered to a stop, caught in a blend of shock and fear. The music faded into the background, a haunting echo of what had been. Sarah's face fell. In that heartbeat, the atmosphere crackled, charged with something palpable, a blend of despair, courage, and something else. The onlookers stood entranced, feeling as if they were witnessing the underbelly of wealth and privilege crumble in real time. But Clara, amidst the fire, felt a fierce surge of determination. No! She shouted suddenly, shocking even herself. Sarah is not broken. She is beautiful and strong. I'm not here to amuse you or pity her. The words sliced through the air. It was a challenge, a lance thrown into the rich man's fortress of pride. For a moment, he faltered, disbelief etching deep lines across his face. Clara's heart raced. She hadn't meant to speak, yet it felt liberating, almost revolutionary. The crowd gasped again, eyes widening like startled birds. It was a moment that could spiral in any direction. The rich man's fury could lash out violently, or he could reflect and soften, navigating the delicate binds of his crumbling authority. What did you say? He barked, each syllable dripping with intention. How dare you speak to me like that? But as he stepped closer, Sarah gripped the armrest of her chair, gathering all her strength, her breath quickening. Don't you see? Clara is my friend, she said, her voice gaining momentum. She shows me what it means to be alive. Can't you feel that? The rich man paused, the air chilling as the uncertain truth pressed against the walls of his hardened heart. Around them, the crowd drew an unstable breath. Would he allow the tremors of change to enter his life, or would he cling to the shadows of privilege and control? The answer lay within him, somewhere between fury and a flicker of understanding. And then, just as whispers broke into a single horrified gasp, the world shifted again. A figure emerged from the shadows, carrying secrets as heavy as the angst in the air. Excuse me, sir, a voice called, cutting through the tension. You need to come with me. Now. All eyes turned towards the unexpected arrival, dread pooling heavily as reality teetered on the edge. What calamity awaited? What shocking news could shatter the fragile moment? Tension grasped every heart, and the frozen silence echoed loudly, leaving everyone on edge. The rich man turned, uncertainty flickered across his features. The storm of emotions hung thick, ready to collide. The figure stepped into the weak light filtering through the estate's grand entryway, a man dressed in somber tones that only emphasized the urgency etched on his features. He was familiar to the crowd, known as Harold, the estate's grim-faced lawyer. The murmuring grew thick enough to choke on, pulses racing with curiosity and dread. What do you want? The rich man barked, his commanding voice fracturing the fragile tension. Harold hesitated, glancing nervously at Clara and Sarah, before he squared his shoulders and spoke, the words tight-packed like coiled springs. It's south about the estate. We have a serious issue that requires your immediate attention. The rich man's face twisted in rage again. Do you dare interrupt this moment for business? My daughter's life is at stake. Sir, if you don't come with me now, everything you hold dear. Harold's voice cut off abruptly as if the weight of his own revelation threatened to crush him. The air was electric with anticipation, tangible and heavy. What could be so important? Clara interjected, finally finding her voice amidst the chaos. What possibly could overshadow what is happening here? Her heart throbbed as she looked at Sarah, desperate for the moment to linger, yet frightened of the unknown. You'll want to hear this, Clara, Harold replied. The lawyer's intensity drew Clara's focus away from the rich man's escalating fury. The finance is enough. The rich man seethed, his gaunt face now pale. You'll ruin everything, Harold. My reputation, your reputation is nothing if you lose control of your affairs, Harold shot back, exuding an urgency that pierced through the layers of anger. Trust me, you need to know. Silence settled like a heavy blanket as the rich man debated between his pride and pragmatism. Clara could see the cracks in his resolve, the mingling fear of losing everything he had built juxtaposed against a father's instinct to protect his child. Sarah sensed the shift, her azure eyes darted between her father and Clara. "Dad," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper, yet imbued with a strange, blossoming strength. "Maybe it's time for you to see beyond just what you own. I won't stand by as you," he began, but the weight of Sarah's gaze pierced through him. "Don't you want to know?" She took a deep breath, voice steadier now. "Don't you want to understand my world? Clara gives me something you can't." The crowd watched, breaths held tight like a coil, the shifting tides of emotion trembling between resolve and despair. Clara felt a rush of hope, exhilaration sparking within her. Could this moment really be turning? I need a moment," the rich man finally muttered, retreating a step back as he battled the chaos raging within. Yet, even as he stepped back, an unseen shadow loomed behind him. Tension crackled, fissures of uncertainty ran beneath the surface, ready to widen. From within the crowd, a voice suddenly broke through, sharp and accusatory. "What do you mean, your world?" It was Mrs. Whitmore, the rich man's sister, her eyes ablaze with judgment. "What does she have that you don't?" Gasps rippled through the onlookers, the accusation sounded like a stone thrown into a still pond, its echoes rocking through every heart in attendance. The atmosphere thickened again, the rich man's posture shifting as the weight of all eyes bore down on him. "What have you done to my daughter?" he demanded, looking at Clara as if she held the answer to a puzzle he couldn't solve. Before Clara could protest, the door behind Harold swung open. A figure stood silhouetted against the dim light of the hallway, a woman, draped in shadows, her expression unreadable. "It's time you all face the truth," she said, her voice hauntingly familiar, sending shivers that brushed down Clara's spine. The tension snapped like a taut string, leaving everyone gripped by anticipation. What was the truth she spoke of? As she stepped forward, reality itself felt unsteady. Secrets threatened to spill forth, unearthing a legacy that none were prepared for. What would happen when generations of greed and heartbreak converged in this moment? Clara's heart raced at the possibilities, and the dread of what lay ahead loomed large. With every eye drawn to the newcomer, Clara felt the ground shift beneath her feet. The answers were coming, but at what price? And as awaited words hung heavy in the air, a question lingered: would they shock or heal this crumbling family? The woman stepped into the faint light, her presence exuding a mixture of anger and fragility that seemed to ripple through the crowd. Clara narrowed her eyes, trying to place the familiarity that danced on the edge of her memory. "Who are you?" the rich man snapped, his voice rising, a desperate edge seeping in. "Time hasn't erased my face, brother," she said, her tone like iron. "I'm Lydia. Your sister." The rich man stumbled back as if struck. Clara caught a glimpse of surprise mixed with a shadow of guilt crossing his features. The crowd surged forward, the revelation rippling through them like a wave. "Lydia!" Mrs. Whitmore gasped, disbelief clawing at her throat. "You were supposed to be dead. That's what you wished, isn't it?" Lydia shot back, her eyes piercing through the confusion. "Well, here I stand. Alive." The rich man's mouth opened, then snapped shut. Clara felt the ground beneath her tremble with the weight of the family's darkness, secrets unspooling like old movie reels, every betrayal, every lie laid bare before them. "Why now?" the rich man demanded, voice thick like molasses. "Why come back to haunt this family?" "Haunt?" Lydia's laughter was sharp, tinged with bitterness. "I've come to reveal what's been buried too long. Your bastion of wealth lies on quicksand, brother. You hide behind your fortune as a shield, while the truth claws to break free." Clara felt the tension snaking through the crowd, palpable as electricity. She glanced at Sarah. They shared a look of shock and wild hope, but also fear. What had Lydia come to uncover? "You don't understand the implications," he stammered, hands trembling but fists clenched in denial. "What do you know of my world?" "I know it's built on lies," Lydia replied, voice steady. "On a legacy of shame and denial. Your daughter," her eyes flickered to Sarah. "She deserves more. You all do." The rich man's face twisted, a mask of confusion and rage, barely holding his composure. "Who are you to tell me what I owe my daughter? Someone who lost her future because of your decisions." Lydia seized the moment, stepping closer, her gaze unyielding. "I watched you hoard wealth while my own life slipped through my fingers, discarded for the illusion of family." A collective gasp shuddered through the group. Clara's throat tightened, a chill gripped her heart. The world seemed to contract into a single moment, words carried with them the weight of generations. "Enough!" the rich man exclaimed, desperation flooding his voice. "You're just a ghost from my past. Your claims are nothing. You have no proof." Clara could almost hear the crack of his resolve. But Lydia smiled a sharp, knowing smile. "Oh, but I do." She reached into her pocket, producing an old photograph, its edges frayed. The crowd leaned forward as she held it aloft like a talisman. "You can deny the past, but it has a way of catching up." The moment hung, fragile and poised on a knife edge. Clara leaned in, the photograph glimmering with potential secrets. This felt like the eye of a storm, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the winds were about to roar. "What's that?" Sarah whispered, eyes wide in dauntless curiosity. "Let us find out." Clara murmured back, her heart racing as the rich man's face paled, color draining as recognition flickered in his eyes. Another voice clawed from the back of the crowd, desperate and frantic. "Where's the real threat? Who's really in danger?" With that single question, the fragile web of truths began to fray, secrets spiraling with no stopping them now. Clara's mind raced. What if the stakes were far greater than they already seemed? The air crackled with anticipation, bringing Clara's heart to fervent life. What dark legacy awaited unveiling? And as the photograph fluttered between possessive hands, Clara's pulse quickened. Would they embrace the truth, or would it tear them apart? In the charged silence, another voice emerged, a familiar murmur that sent a bolt of recognition and dread coursing through Clara. A voice she hadn't anticipated hearing. "Is this really about the estate, or is it about something much deeper?" And just like that, with icy certainty, Clara knew they were standing on the precipice of something huge. Would the truth shred their bonds or seal their fates? The photograph trembled in Lydia's grip, yet she held it steady, like a shield against the rich man's unraveling composure. The crowd was hushed, gravity pulling them close, eyes darting between the siblings as if waiting for a storm to hit. "What is it?" he stammered, voice cracking. "Let me see that." His desperation crackled in the air, and Clara saw Lydia's lips twitch in triumph. She didn't offer the picture right away. Instead, she leaned closer, whispering, "You think you've built a fortress, but there are cracks everywhere. Isn't it time to tear down the walls?" The rich man's breathing quickened. Clara noticed a trickle of sweat beading on his forehead. He looked like a cornered animal, fierce but vulnerable. "Shut up. You don't know me, or my life." "Don't I?" Lydia shot back, her voice low but forceful. "I know what you did to me. To all of us." And this she finally turned the photograph towards him, revealing an image of a much younger version of herself standing next to a blooming, mischievous Sarah. Sunlight danced on their faces, captured in a moment of happiness, long before betrayal twisted their fates. Gasps erupted. Sarah instinctively stepped back, pressing against Clara, horror dawning in her eyes. This can't be real," she mumbled, desperate to deny her reality. The rich man looked pale, his feigned bravado shattering like glass. "You think this will change anything?" "I will deny it all," he growled, but his hands were shaky now, a sudden crack in his impenetrable facade. What kind of man denies his own flesh and blood? Lydia pressed on, unfurling the tension in the air as if wielding a weapon. You tossed me aside, but I survived while you threw a party over your supposed success. The crowd murmured, ripples of doubt and disbelief spreading. Clara felt their collective eyes turn, scrutinizing, each judgment hang like a lead weight. Her heart pounded. She met Sarah's gaze, searching for an anchor, but panic swirled instead. Lydia, please, let us just go, Sarah said, voice shrinking. This isn't going to end well. No, she has to hear this, Lydia insisted, turning her fierce glare back to the man. You need to take responsibility not just for your wealth, but for the lives you destroyed to achieve it. Each word sliced through the rich man, his bravado now accompanied by visible cracks. You're nothing. Just a forgotten shadow. I want to let you ruin everything I've built. He snapped, fists clenching, voice rising. Clara caught a glimpse of Mrs. Whitmore in the back, her expression blank, as if the revelations were a weight she couldn't bear. What was Lydia digging into? Clara's thoughts raced, colliding with disbelief and an ember of intense curiosity about the past that had crept back to life. What else do you know, Lydia? Clara finally breathed, caught in the chaotic storm. What's the truth? Just tell us. With a slight smirk, Lydia filled the silence. What do you think I'm here for? To unveil a treasure of blood and betrayal? The real question is, what will you do with the truth when it hits you? The tension flickered, and the discontentment in the crowd began to bubble, some shifting uncomfortably. The rich man's expression twisted into a mask of rage mixed with fear. Stop! He lunged forward, reaching for the photograph, but Lydia stepped back, fearlessness etched into her features. You can't escape your past. I'll reveal everything unless you come clean about what happened that night, the night I became a ghost in my own family. Silence hung, broken only by the gasping of startled breaths. Clara felt her chest constrict. This was more than just a family feud, it was about lost lives, broken promises, and unburied secrets. Lydia, don't! Sarah yelled, her voice high-pitched, panic lacing her words. You don't know what you're unleashing. But nothing could stop Lydia now. The stakes were sky-high, and every heartbeat echoed in Clara's ears. They stood at the edge of a truth that could crumble everything or rebuild their lives, and just as Lydia prepared to speak again, the distant sound of sirens wailed, cutting through the tension like a knife. Clara's heart skipped. Danger was knocking at the door, and with it, a chilling thought struck her: the real battle was just about to begin. What would happen when the truth finally emerged? The sirens grew louder, weaving through the charged atmosphere like a sinister melody. Clara's heart raced. She silently prayed for the world to stop spinning, to pause the impending chaos around them. Just a few moments of peace amidst the storm. Lydia, stop, she murmured again, desperation spilling from her lips. But Lydia's eyes blazed with an intensity that seemed ready to burst. She wasn't backing down now, not when they were finally on the brink of exposing the shadows that loomed over their lives. The rich man's face warped into a mask of fury and fear. Stay away from that picture! He shouted. You don't know what trouble you'll cause. You think this will save you? It will only sink you deeper. Deeper into what? Lydia shot back, unyielding. The photograph hung between them like a fragile truce, but Clara sensed that it was about to fracture. There was movement in the crowd, a ripple of restlessness. Clara turned to see familiar faces, some sympathetic, others hungry for drama. How could anyone turn away from this spectacle? Are you scared? Lydia asked, a taunting edge to her voice. What happened that night, it haunts you, doesn't it? The truth has twisted every corner of your lavish life. The rich man's composure shattered completely, like the remnants of his lies lying crumbled at his feet. He lunged again, wild and frenzied, grabbing for the photograph, but Clara jumped in front of Lydia, her body a desperate shield. No. You can't take this from her. The impact of their collision sent and echoed gasps rippling through the crowd. Clara felt the heat of rage radiating from the rich man like a fire ready to consume everything in its path. You think you're saving her? He shouted. You don't even know what you're dealing with. Behind their faces, the air shifted. The muted concern amongst the onlookers turned into something more sinister, a dark hunger for truth mingled with the fear that came from lies uncoiling. Clara felt the weight of the crowd's judgment hanging in the air, each gaze a deepling chiseling away at the fragile web of her reality. Let us talk about that night, Lydia insisted. Her voice had lowered, carrying a gravelly intensity. Let us talk about the truth that shattered my world. The darkness that swallowed my childhood whole. Silence draped over them, thick and suffocating. Clara's throat tightened, she could almost feel the tension snapping. Would Lydia really air out everything? Did she fully grasp the consequences it could unleash? Enough. The rich man roared, his composure gone. He was breathing heavily, eyes wild. You want to play with fire? Then I won't hesitate to burn you with it. Before he could move, the sirens blared closer, drowning out his threats as police cars pulled up the driveway. Blue and red lights pulsed ominously, casting eerie shadows on the faces of the crowd. Clara glanced back at Lydia, wide-eyed, fear colliding with hope. Do you really want to take this to the police? Lydia shot back, but the defiance in her voice faltered. The weight of potential consequences blinked in and out of clarity, like the flashing lights dancing around them. The rich man sneered. Good luck, darling. You think they'll believe a washed-up maid's daughter over a businessman like me? This will end badly for you. As officers stepped out, the crowd shifted nervously. The air crackled with anticipation, and Clara could feel her heartbeat quickening with every second that ticked on. What if the truth didn't free them? Lydia opened her mouth, ready to unleash her storm of words, but Clara grasped her arm, a silent plea in her eyes. Lydia, not now, not like this, but Lydia tore her gaze away, conflict battling within her. I don't care. They need to know. Frustration clawed at Clara's insides. The truth felt too jagged, too raw. Just then, a deep voice shattered the moment, the first officer stepping forward, placing a hand on the rich man's shoulder. Sir, we've received calls about a disturbance. We need to ask you a few questions. All eyes snapped toward him, as if they were on the brink of something monumental. Clara's heart sank. Was this the moment everything would finally unravel? Or was it the start of a nightmare? As the chaos swirled, a single question echoed in her mind: how far was Lydia willing to go to expose the truth, and would anyone emerge from the wreckage unscathed? The officer's cold touch seemed to send a shiver down the rich man's spine. He jerked away, startled, his eyes darting around, desperate for an escape from the reality that was closing in. Clara felt the shift in the crowd, a collective gasp echoed, a sea of shocked faces that could barely believe their own eyes. Did you hear that? A woman whispered nearby, another voice chimed in, Is that the truth? Lydia stood firm, her chin held high. But Clara felt her own resolve wobble. She pulled Lydia's arm just a fraction, enough to whisper, Think this through. We need more than just words now. Still, the truth hung heavy in the air, tempting and dangerous, like a ripe apple ready to be plucked. Your games are over, Mr. Sterling, said the officer, his voice steady, his gaze unwavering. Eyes narrowed, he turned back to Lydia and Clara. So, ladies, what's this all about? Isn't it obvious? The rich man blurted, a wild flutter of panic now gracing his tone. These two are delusional. Just desperate and looking for attention. His voice rang out, cutting like glass. The audience leaned in, tension stalling breath. Delusional? Lydia stepped forward, unafraid. Do you think we'd risk everything for a petty game? This is about truth. Her heart beat in rhythm with the flickering lights, a drumline of determination and fear, Clara felt the prick of something sharp, regret perhaps. "Lydia, this is bigger than both of us," she murmured. But she couldn't quite draw the brave girl back. A flicker of indecision shadowed Lydia's fierce expression. "Ma'am." Another officer stepped in, voice booming, commanding attention. "Save the outbursts. You need to provide evidence before we proceed." Lydia's eyes lit up with furious resolve. "Evidence? You want evidence?" She yanked the photograph free from Clara's grip, holding it high above her head. It glinted ominously, the truth wrapped tight within its borders. "This is evidence. It's time for everyone to see what happens behind closed doors." The crowd erupted with gasps, eyes widening, mouths hanging open as they clamored for a view. Clara's heart pounded in her ears. She caught a glimpse of surprise and intrigue, but also fear of what truth could unleash. Some stepped back, reacting as though they had touched a live wire. The rich man's face drained pale, becoming a storm of emotions flickering across his features. "You're making a terrible mistake, Lydia." His voice had dropped to a gravelly shadow, threatening and pleading all at once. "You think they care? You think they will believe you? This is over for you." Lydia's grip tightened around the photo, each heartbeat resonating with her resolve. "This isn't just about me anymore. This is about every life you ruined." Clara sensed the snap, the tautness of the moment straining against reality. The officer stepped forward again. "I'll need to see that, miss." Just then, the sound of another siren pierced the air, joining the cacophony around them. A second wave of police cars, a deeper thrum of concern rippling through the crowd. Clara's stomach churned, sensing that the real stakes were about to reveal themselves. As the new officers emerged, the atmosphere shifted, an eerie silence falling like a heavy blanket. Clara's chest tightened, anxiety swirling with dread. What if this escalated beyond control? What if, like an out-of-control fire, fear and truth burned everything away? What happens now? She thought, the question hanging precariously in her mind, the weight of it heavy in the air. Would the truth redeem them, or seal their fates? A sudden realization splintered through her like a crack in the glass. "Lydia, think fast." But before she could react, a stranger from the crowd shouted, "Look! She's not lying. I was there that night." Gasps reverberated through the throng. All heads turned, a collective shift like a wave about to crash. Clara's breath hitched. Who was this new voice? What truth could they bring? In an instant, the balance of everything teetered, and Clara wondered just how deep the shadows stretched and what other horrors they might reveal. The stranger's voice broke through the chaos like a cannon blast. Clara squinted, trying to pinpoint the source of the declaration. A young man emerged from the thrumming mass, disheveled hair, sweat glistening on his forehead, eyes wide with conviction. He pushed through the crowd, urgency in every step. "I was there that night," he repeated, louder this time, the energy in the air vibrating with his truth. "I know what happened. You need to listen to me." Fists clenched at the side of her body, Clara turned to Lydia, who stared at the newcomer like he held the winning lottery ticket. The officer hesitated, glancing between the man and the photograph still raised high. Clara felt an electric shock run through the crowd. They were suddenly no longer passive observers but hungry for a revelation. "What do you mean you were there?" Lydia demanded, her voice firm yet urgent, almost pleading for details. Clara's palms felt clammy as she watched emotions tangle like vines on the faces around her. Confusion, suspicion, fear, and a flicker of hope. The young man swallowed hard, the tension in the air wrapping around him like a vice. "I saw everything. The party, the fights, what he did." He pointed a finger sharply towards Mr. Sterling, whose face twisted with rage, turning red as a boiled lobster. "You're lying!" Mr. Sterling roared. "You don't know what you're talking about." But the man's words were gaining momentum, each syllable fueling the flames of curiosity. No, you don't get to hide behind your money and power anymore. The stranger said, his voice trembling with intensity. That night was a nightmare. I saw your daughter, Clara. I saw how he treated her, the humiliation, the pain. You can't pretend it didn't happen. The whispers climbed to a fever pitch, gasps swirling like a storm cloud. Clara felt nausea churn in her stomach. Memories crashed into her, images of that night flooded back, tangled memories she buried deep. What the stranger spoke of was a truth she feared, and she felt the weight of every gaze on her, pressing down like an anvil. Who are you? Clara finally managed to find her voice, breaking through the tumult. If you were there, why didn't you come forward before? His eyes were wild, the embers of outrage burning within. I was scared. You have no idea what he is capable of. I thought it was just me. Hesitation crept into his tone, fear intertwining with regret. But when I heard what you were planning, I knew I had to come. Lydia stepped closer, her spirit igniting with an almost infectious fire. Then tell us everything. You can't hold back now. But at that moment, the ground beneath them seemed to tremble. A cluster of officers moved in, closing the gap, their presence declaring authority. Step back. Everyone stay calm. One shouted, his voice a siren cutting through the restless whispers. Clara's heart raced as the man's eyes darted to the officers, fear mixed with desperation. Please. You have to understand. He pleaded. This is about more than just one night. It's about all the women he has hurt. The rich man spluttered, words tumbling from his mouth, frantic excuses blending into a swirling cacophony. But the truth could be a monster, and Clara sensed it breaking loose from its cage, ready to ravage everything in its path. As the officers began to disperse the crowd, a shudder crept along Clara's spine. This was only the beginning. The stranger was ready to share more, to pull the walls down, but would there be enough time before they were silenced? Clara. We need to know if it's true. Lydia's voice sliced through the distractions, pulling Clara back to reality. In a whirlwind of angry words and fear, everything weighed heavy in the air. But deep down, Clara knew that one question remained, looming ominously like a thundercloud: who else would step forward to tell the tales hidden in the shadows? Would those revelations shatter the illusion, or plunge them further into darkness? As the officers began breaking the crowd apart, Clara's thoughts raced, desperation surging. What if this man revealed more than they were prepared to face? Because truth, tangled with fear, is often more explosive than imagined. Clara stood frozen, the weight of impending truths pressing against her chest. The murmurs around her swirled into a cacophony of uncertainty and fear. Questions hung in the air, unvoiced but heavy. They pressed down on her as if they were physical chains. We need to get him out of here, Lydia insisted, her voice tense as a tightrope ready to snap. Clara could see the edge of panic fraying at Lydia's composure. The officers were advancing, pushing towards the stranger like predators closing in on prey, and Clara's heart raced with urgency. She couldn't let this slip away. Wait! Clara shouted, her voice cutting through the rising panic. Don't let them take him. A few heads turned, eyes wide with confusion mixing with Clara's fierce determination. The stranger looked between her and Lydia, a flicker of hope igniting his gaze. Please, he whispered, desperation cloaking his words. I know who I am. I know what I saw. Before they could respond, an officer stepped in front of him, chest puffed with authority. You'd better come with us, son. His voice was the flat sound of metal clanging together, devoid of empathy. No. You don't understand. They need to hear what I have to say. The young man's eyes darted, wild and pleading. Clara could sense the urgency radiating from him, the need to reveal the truth clawing at him from inside Demar. Sterling, now pale and sweating, cut through the noise. This is nonsense. Just a boy wanting attention. His voice quivered slightly, a hint of panic slipping past his defenses, but the crowd was no longer convinced by his bluster. "Is that really all it is, Mr. Sterling? Attention?" Lydia's voice dripped with contempt. "Who are you to silence him?" It was a challenge, fierce and undeniable. Clara felt the swell of solidarity in that moment. The young man took a deep breath, steadying himself. "I saw her," he shouted, his voice rising, raw and unfiltered. "I saw your daughter. I saw the things he did. I didn't know this would happen to other women. The cover-ups, the lies. That night was just one of many. Don't let him silence me." The crowd shifted, an electric spark of realization rippling through them. Clara felt a tide of anger rise in her. How many had suffered? How many voices had been stifled? This was more than about him, it was about so many lives crushed under the weight of injustice. Her heart raced with the need to act. "Clara." Lydia reached for her arm, a plea in her eyes. "We can't lose this chance. We can't let the truth fall into silence again." But fear slid into Clara's mind. They were outnumbered, and the looming officers were ready to wield their authority as a weapon. What if the truth never saw the light of day? What if it put them all in danger? Just then, as if summoned by the frenzy, a voice rang out from the back of the crowd, an unfamiliar woman, stepping forward. "I was there too," she cried. "I saw it all." Gasps shivered through the assembly, heads swiveling towards her with wide, astonished eyes. More witnesses. Clara's pulse quickened. Hope and dread warred within her. But before they could rally together, the officers lunged, breaking apart the crowd. "This is over. Everyone needs to disperse, now." Their commands crackled through the air with a swift urgency that rattled Clara like a physical blow. As chaos erupted, Clara's heart raced faster than ever. The moment felt like a pin about to pop a balloon, a fragile, tense precipice. She locked eyes with the stranger, holding his gaze long enough to see his firm resolve. "Speak. If you have to run, just run and tell them. Don't let their power silence you." Her voice trembled, a desperate hope drumming in her ears, and then, as if the universe itself sought to test their resolve, the ground beneath them trembled once again. The sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder, a warning echoing on the horizon. The truth was about to clash with the powerful. As chaos reigned, Clara felt the rush of a storm gathering around them, a reckoning brewing. How far would they go to protect their lies? Would they let another truth slip away into shadow, or would this spark become a wildfire? The answers lay just beyond the chaos, waiting to emerge. Would she have the strength to meet them when they did? The sirens grew louder, a frantic reminder of the impending storm. Clara's heart beat like a drum, each thump underscoring the urgency of the moment. She could feel desperation saturating the air, bubbling up from the crowd like boiling water, ready to spill over. The young man stood before her, fire in his eyes, a determination mirrored in Lydia's fierce gaze. This wasn't just about one night anymore, it was about reclaiming shattered lives. Then, another voice rose from the throng. "I was there too." A middle-aged woman pushed her way through the murmur of bodies, walking with a limp that caught everyone's attention. Hope flickered like a candle in the wind. The crowd parted, shocked recognition etching itself into every face as they recalled her from years gone past. She stepped forward, shaking but resolute. "He thought he could silence us forever. No more." The woman shouted. "I witnessed it all. Clara, I remember you. You deserve to be heard." Another wave of gasps swept through the spectators, a collective realization that this battle was far bigger than any one individual. This was a reckoning against powerful hands that had long muted the truth. Mr. Sterling's face contorted, layers of denial and fear intermingling as sweat glistened on his forehead. "You're all delusional. This can't be happening." His voice rang out, laced with panic. But the tide had shifted. "Stand down," an officer commanded, stepping between Mr. Sterling and the growing assembly of voices. We have questions to address. All of you, get back. But the crowd surged forward, emboldened by the fight bubbling to the surface, refusing to retreat from their truths. Clara felt the thrill of energy as the fear turned into courage, cascading through them like wildfire. "We won't be silenced anymore," shouted the woman, her voice steady, igniting the crowd further. That single spark transformed into an eruption of solidarity. "We deserve justice. No more hiding. No more," echoed Lydia, her spirit roaring to life, emboldened by the presence of others who had suffered like her. Clara felt her heart swell, the fear replaced by an overwhelming wave of hope, shattering her anxiety. As the officers scrambled to maintain order, Clara stepped beside the woman and Lydia. Each strong, determined face reflected the same desire to unveil the truth. What a powerful force they had become. In that moment, the rich man's defenses crumbled. The weight of years spent covering up the past was like a boulder poised to crush him under the pressure of their gathering voices. Clara could see his eyes darting around, desperately seeking an escape, yet caught in a web all of his making, every thread woven with deception. Just then, the crowd erupted into chants. One woman started it, her voice unwavering, "Justice! Justice!" Then others joined, their shouts ringing like church bells, growing louder with each heartbeat. "Justice!" Clara added, feeling the surge envelop her. Lydia echoed her, fists aloft in defiance. The rhythm synced, vibrations of freedom coursing through their veins. The young man turned to Clara, urgency pulsing from him. "Do you believe this will change anything?" he asked, doubt weaving through his anxiety. "Yes," she answered without hesitation. "It has to. For all of us." And just like that, the first officer stepped forward, a knot of determination etched on his brow. As he raised his voice, a new calm swept over the crowd, grave, yet ripe with possibilities. "You all can come forward. Every single one of you. We'll make sure your voices are heard." The noise quieted to a tense hush, anticipation electrifying the air. Sterling's bravado cracked. "You will regret this," he snarled, but it sounded weak, a penultimate plea from a man who could no longer control his carefully crafted world. Clara exchanged glances with Lydia and the old woman, unspoken resolve weaving between them. "Then let them hear it," Lydia declared, her voice cutting through the tension. And in that moment, as darkness fled beneath their luminous truths, Clara smiled. Together, they had shattered the silence. Together, they were woven into a new beginning, one where justice could finally take root. As the crowd began to disperse, the future felt engraved with hope. Clara would carry the memories of that day forward, her heart beating in time with the courage that blossomed against the shadows. The storm had finally come, but instead of destruction, it had brought clarity and freedom. Now, as you feel the pulse of this powerful tale wrapping you into its core, remember this moment. You need to subscribe now to keep the energy alive for the stories that lie ahead. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and let the world know that truth always prevails. Flood the comments section with your reactions, your theories. Share your thoughts, you matter to this community. And for the love of powerful stories, don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible conclusion. Now is the time to join hands in solidarity with our beloved narratives.